So, hi again, everyone. We're back at the Stalking Show in Bobby's Box, and we're joined by Al, Gabriel, and you've come at a good time because we were just sitting down having a little chat, and of course we got on to Tom's favourite topic of conversation, which is the Kipplauf rifle. And we started having a bit of a debate, and we were like, this is just too good not to actually capture. So I think, Tom, you should resume your debate about Kipplaufs. And Al can put you in his place.
So Al was just asking me, he said, what is so good about a Kipplauf apart from the novelty? And
the sexiness.
And the sexiness. I mean, and there is no denying the sexiness. Even if you disagree with the ethics of it, you can't disagree with the sexiness. But
correct.
For me, the reason of using a Kipplauf, probably three reasons apart from sexiness. One is they are so light. And they are just therefore that much nicer to carry and manoeuvre. Like putting them up on the sticks just feels like a really graceful movement. Whereas, like, I don't know, most of our like bolt action rifles now, we've all put big scopes on them, big moderators, big mounts. Like they're big, like bulky, unwieldy things. And I find my Kipplauf is just small, sleek, slender, lightweight, and it's just so nice and easy to use. Yeah. It's because it doesn't have an action. So you've not got that normal kind of a section that the bolt runs through where you eject a cartridge through. The average Kipplauf, so both my 308s are both 20-inch barrels, but my Kipplauf is a good 4 inches shorter, if not more, than my other bolt-action rifle.
Yeah.
And so that means when it's slung over my shoulder, the barrel doesn't kind of like protrude out really high. So if you're stalking through thick woodland, it doesn't get caught on stuff. And again, it just makes it so much easier, nicer to manoeuvre. And the third and final reason, which could be counted as a disadvantage, is because it is only that single shot. I feel like I think more about that shot that I'm going to take than I do when I've got my bolt-action rifle, because you're like, if I fluff it with this shot, it's all gone. I'm not going to say horribly wrong, because it hasn't. And before I let you say something, Al, I can tell you're dying to say something. Is that most people say to me, oh, well, you need that second follow-up shot for when you're culling big groups of fallow, which maybe it's just me, but when I, this season, have come across big groups of fallow and I've had my Kipplauf, I've never found that I've shot the first one and needed a second shot on the same group quickly, because I find once I've shot the first one, the group runs and they'll then resettle somewhere, and that's when I get my second shot at them. And in that instance, in the space of them running, I literally just kind of slowly, confidently open the rifle, take the old cartridge out, chuck a new one in, close it, and by the time I've done that and I'm back on that group, they've just about settled. And so for me, I find it a very nice process and very enjoyable. But I know you're about to completely contradict me and defeat Kipplaufs.
No, I see your point. I mean, I see the appeal of this new style of rifle, not new, but new to most of us. It has sex appeal, it has functionality of being light, deer stalking is clunky, just through sheer kit in the UK at least. So I completely see that, and it's a unique way of stalking. I suppose the real question is, in the time that you've enjoyed your Kipplauf, have you had a situation where it's all to do with dispatch with me? Have you had an experience where you've taken your first shot and required a follow-up shot, and has that been any compromise in terms of timing to the second round? I mean, have you experienced anything of that nature? That's the real crux of it for me. I totally agree with what you're saying. It's just, you only need to experience it once in my book. If you could have taken a faster shot, but you couldn't for whatever reason, there's been some suffering in the animal. It doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 30 seconds or a minute, but have you experienced something like that? But that's the real measure for me to say, actually, we're kind of ready to switch to a Kipplauf now, I think.
I have, and I don't think there's any deer stalker out there who can say that they've shot every single deer perfectly every single time. So I'm definitely not going to pretend to be in that camp. And I have had deer that I've shot and ended up having to do either a follow-up shot or get up close and personal and finish it, if you know what I mean. And in those circumstances, I've never found that the Kipplauf has slowed me down to the point that something has suffered longer than it should have done. Plus, I think if it ever has done, it's probably actually given me those few seconds to think about how to tackle that situation perhaps a bit more calmly than if I'd literally just gone, actually no, right, cycle the bolt, stick another one out there.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily just mean that in terms of just putting another bullet into the animal. I mean it in terms of actually, okay, that animal's perhaps gone down or it's moved off from where I first shot it. It gives you that second to think, actually, is the backstop still safe? Have I definitely hit that animal? Actually, have I completely clean missed and it's just moved off? And actually that additional time has actually, I think, probably been if anything, has been useful.
And the thing I've found about follow-up shots, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do it at all, but I always find that if I do fluff a shot and something goes badly wrong, I've never had to. I don't think I can remember a time where I've had to immediately shoot the deer again. I've always spent a couple of minutes with binoculars. I'd reload the rifle, spend a couple of minutes with binoculars watching. If it has been gut shot or something like that, my experience is it'll kind of crawl off quite slowly, and you've got a lot of time to do a follow-up at that point. If you've spine shot it, it'll drop, and I've already reloaded the rifle at that point. And then if it does get up, then I'm already reloaded. I don't think I've ever had a time where I've had to literally go bang, bang.
I think this might be because we all stalk in different environments. So for me, I'm used to clear fell, pine forestry, where they've just come out of the tree line, and I'm near Scotland. I can almost see Scotland from where I am, from my ground. And if that thing goes back into that thick forest, and I'm going to have to crawl all the way to Scotland. That's how thick the forest is. So in my case, I'm very sensitive to the timeline of. It's not like a lowland. Manicured gardens where you can chase it from one field to another field. I have a 10-meter radius of the animal literally coming out in the last 10 minutes of the day. And if something goes wrong, if I can't get into it, then I don't know if you've tracked inside pine forest or Scotland, but it is a thing.
And the final thing I'd say as well, because I do accept, I really love using my Kipplauf, and I definitely wouldn't say it's for everyone, because I think you've got to have that experience, exactly as Harry's just alluded to, that when you hit something, you've got the experience to know whether that was a good shot, a bad shot, a marginal shot, and you've done it enough times that you go, I can tell from the way that animal's just reacted, yeah, that's it, the job's done. Or actually, I think from the way it's bunched up or the way it's moved, actually I think I've got shot that and I do need a second one. I think if you were a newbie heading out on, well, I was about to say on the hill for some reason, but heading out anywhere, perhaps with a Kipplauf probably isn't the thing to do. And the final thing I'd say I do as a kind of insurance policy is my Kipplauf's a 308, and I feel like with a calibre that size, particularly at the ranges I'm shooting, which is never really beyond 250 metres, no matter where you hit a deer with a 150 grain 308 bullet, you've either killed it or incapacitated it that badly that it isn't. If it's gone slightly further forwards, you've probably hit it in that kind of, I think what Paul Hill calls like the Hilar region, and actually it's going to have such catastrophic blood loss it's going to drop dead. Or if you've gut shot it that little bit further back, you've incapacitated it well enough that you don't need a follow-up shot so quickly. You probably will need a follow-up shot, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you don't need it so quickly that a Kipplauf would inhibit you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we've talked about this for about a year and a half now. I think I am.
Everyone else is bored of this debate, but
but I think we'll come to some consensus. I think because I think a lot of people are using them now. They're far more common than they were a year and a half ago, for instance, when we spoke last time. So I am comfortable in them being used. I think, like you've alluded to, as long as they're not being used by a newcomer in a very difficult situation like a pine forest or a thick forest, if you're well aware of the ground, you have supporting dogs, etc., then I don't think there's anything. I mean, they are legal rifles. There's nothing wrong with using them, as long as, I suppose it's the caveats that's important.
Yeah.
So maybe not ideal for newcomers, maybe not ideal for complicated grounds, but I think in most areas, south of England, I think, in the area you operate in, I think I would say they're, in the right hands, I think they're fine. I'm not as fascist as I was a year and a half ago. I think they've become more common, I suppose. I mean, I still have concerns, but like you say, in the right hands with the right caliber, right ground, that's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You must do the legwork, yeah.
The final question for you, Al. Is there a day that we can expect to see you carrying a Kipplauf over your shoulder?
I'm too much of a purist, so never.
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 There we go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Alan. Thank you very much for bearing with us on this debate. I know you're probably sick to the back teeth of it, but
no, it's exciting. It's an exciting piece of kit, and I'm sure we will see more of it. And you've made it very trendy. It is trending at the minute, I think. And we will see a lot of it, and I think it's no different to any other equipment we've had. As long as youngsters, make sure that it's not for everyone. Perhaps not your first rifle, but I think we can. Like anything that we've learned in stalking, I think it will become a commonplace, like thermals or anything else. Yeah. So I'm confident it's so an appropriate tool in the right hands. As long as people don't grab it first off, then I think we're okay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Alan.
Anytime.
Thank you for joining us.
Anytime, Jay.